Mr. Bondevik, could you tell us briefly about your experience of depression?
It was back in 1998. I was a prime minister at that time. And I felt during the summer that I lost energy, I lost sleep during the nights. And one day, the last Sunday of August, it was so problematic that I couldn't either go out of bed. So my mental health situation affected the physical health situation. But I was not aware of what it really was. I didn't have a diagnosis. So it was a lack of energy, lack of sleep. Everything was black. Even small problems were impossible for me to solve. So my wife got some friends of me to come. They brought with them a psychiatrist. Even the foreign minister came because he understood that something was wrong for me over the last days. They got me physically out of bed. I talked to the psychiatrist and he gave me the diagnosis, depressive reaction. And that was the first time I heard that specific diagnosis.
Did you, when this also became public, because that was a choice of yours,
yeah.
Did you meet any stigma or feel any discrimination?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Let me come back to that. First, we had a discussion, what are we now going to do? Because the next day, the Monday after this Sunday, it should be one of the most important meetings in the cabinet of the year, because we should discuss the next year's state budget. And I realized that I couldn't show up and be there. So we discussed what to do, what are we going to do, because many journalists will be around the cabinet's meeting and they will see the Prime Minister is not there. And so you will have the speculations going on. So we decided we have to make a press release. And so we discussed what are we going to write in this press release. And I said after 2 minutes, why don't say it as it is? And the others were a little bit surprised. Do you really want to do that? Yes, I want to do that. Because first, if we don't do it, there will be speculation. What is wrong with the Prime Minister? Has he cancer or heart attack or what is wrong? Secondly, I thought maybe this can be a contribution to fight stigma. If a Prime Minister is open about his illness, that can help others. So we made a press release saying it as it was, and that was released on Monday morning. And that was breaking news. In radio, TV, on websites, and the next day in newspapers and so on. So I think that was a contribution. And during the next 4 weeks when I was out of office, I got more than 1,000 letters from common people of Norway and from some high-level people. And 1,000 letters in a country, small country like Norway is rather much. And many of them said, we are in a similar situation. And thanks to you that you went public, we can now be open and talk to my family, to friends, and go to a doctor. So I think this was a contribution in fighting stigma around mental health illness, which is so important.
Further on this, do you believe that there are other lessons learned from your experience about how one can fight stigma?
Yes. First of all, we have to acknowledge that mental illnesses is much more common than we think about. World Health Organization has stipulated that we have around 450 million people in the world who have more or less mental health problems for a shorter or a longer period. So we have to make it clear that this is very common. And we have to make it clear that it's not more mysterious to have a mental health problem than to have a physical health problem. If you break a leg on your body, everybody will see it, and you have no problem talking about it. If you break a leg inside your body, which mental health problem is about, then it's much more difficult. Why should it be so? Why? I can't see any reason for that. And an other important thing in fighting stigma is I recovered and was back in office after less than 4 weeks. So it is possible to come back to your work, to your job, after a mental illness. And that is an important lesson to learn for employees especially. Because some of them think, okay, this man who had a heart attack, he can come back after his illness. But he who had a depression, oh, we are very skeptical to take him back. Why? Why? People can return to the jobs after a mental illness as they do after a physical illness.
And we have heard your experiences, and you've been a political leader. Based on that, what kind of recommendations would you give to those with political responsibility around Europe today?
I will especially mention three. First, stigma is not only a problem in this sector, it is the main problem. And that must be, we must fight stigma. And doing that can be using also leaders in the country to go out public, talking about the problems, to normalize mental illness. And that is not so very different from physical illness and not more mysterious. Health care personnel should also be more engaged publicly. Secondly, I will recommend to educate more health personnel for this sector. That's a bottleneck in most countries. And thirdly, to build out smaller centers for mental health care around the country, not big isolated institutions only in the big cities.
Thank you.